Here is a second example of solving by the quadratic formula. So what I'm going to first check is that my function is written in what's called standard form, and I have x squared plus 8x plus 12, and that is in standard form because I have 1x squared. That should be my front term because it has the highest power, then my linear term, then my constant term. So now what I'm going to do that I know I have standard form, so I'm going to say yes, is identify my a, b, and c. A is the coefficient in front of your square term, which ours is 1. B is in front of your linear term, so that's an 8. And c is the constant term, meaning the number term that has no letter. So first what I'm going to do is find what's called the discriminant. That's what goes underneath your radical sign. So my b squared would be 8 squared minus the number 4 times my a, which is 1, times my c of 12. Well, 8 times 8 is 64, and we're going to subtract 4 times 12, which is 48. And 64 minus 48 is the number 16. So that's what's going to go underneath that radical sign. So here we go. X equals opposite sign of our b. So opposite of positive 8 would be negative 8. Plus and minus the square root of that number we just found. All of that is going to get divided by 2. 2a, 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, so now let's simplify our root. Again, if you have a handy-dandy sheet here that says your square roots, I'm looking for 16. The square root of 16 is the number 4. So what this really means is we're going to add and subtract the number 4. So I have 2 answers here. I have 2 answers because I need one for the add and one for the subtract. And so I normally write it like this. X can equal a negative 8 plus 4, and then divide by 2. We're going to get an answer. And it will be negative 8 minus 4, and then divide by 2. So that's why it says plus minus, because we're actually going to do both. One for the add and one for the subtract. Okay, now let's add. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. And when we divide by 2, we'll get negative 2. Negative 8 minus negative 4. We're going to go more negative. So negative 12. And then divide by 2, we get negative 6. And these are the 2 locations where your parabola will cross your x-axis. I want to show you, because this was a perfect square, we could have factored our original equation and gotten the same answer. So I'm going to show you here that because 16 was a perfect square, we could have factored. We had x squared minus, plus 8x plus 12. If we factor 2 numbers that multiply to make 12 and add to make 8, that's a 6 and a 2. Both of our factors would be positive. Well, how did we get negative? Well, when you factor, you have to set your factors equal to 0 and then solve. So I would end up subtracting 6 and get negative 6. And again, for my other factors, set it equal to 0, and if I subtract 2 on the other side, notice how I get the same answers, negative 2 and negative 6. So hopefully that kind of connects the two.